July 4, 1946. 5 o'clock in the evening. A hill called Biskupia Górka, just outside Gdańsk, Poland. 11 nooses swaying in the summer air. 4 double gallows. 1 triple in the center. Thousands of people standing in silence on that hillside, waiting. No hoods. No ceremony. Just 11 faces exposed to thousands of eyes. And among them, a 22-year-old woman named Elisabeth Becker. In minutes, she would step onto the tailboard of a truck with a rope around her neck. The truck would move forward. And the rope would do what ropes do. What brought her to that hill took exactly 4 months to build. Not years. For months. That's how long it took one ordinary German woman to go from civilian to someone who pointed at children and sent them toward the gas chambers. This is the documented story of Elisabeth Becker. What she did at Stutthof. How she fled. Why she hanged. But before we unearth the rest of this account, I have a challenge for you. Drop a comment with one forgotten fragment of history that the textbooks missed. We're here to learn from your findings. If you're committed to our mission of dragging these untold stories into the light, hit the like button and subscribe with the bell on. It's the most vital way to keep the record alive, and if you know a fellow seeker of the truth, send this their way. July 20th, 1923. The free city of Danzig. Elisabeth Becker was born into a German family here. No records of trauma, no documented pathology. By every surviving account, unremarkable. That's the part that's hardest to accept. We want our perpetrators to be monsters from the beginning. Elisabeth doesn't give us that. In 1936, age 13, she joined the Bund Deutsche Mädel, the League of German Girls. Meetings. Songs. Racial doctrine packaged as belonging, delivered to a teenager. She absorbed it. By 1938, she'd moved to Danzig proper and found work as a cook. Honest labor. Quiet life. Nothing marked her. Nothing you could point to and say, there it is. There's the sign. Because there wasn't one. Through 1940 and into 1941, factory work, agricultural labor. For 3 years after the invasion, her life was routine. No violence. No cruelty. Just another young German woman contributing to the war economy. By summer 1944, Germany was losing on every front. The camp system was expanding to extract maximum labor before the collapse. They needed guards, specifically women with documented loyalty. BDM membership. Clean records. Elisabeth Becker received her call-up notice. And here is the fact that matters most, she could have refused. There is no documented case of any woman being condemned for declining to serve as a concentration camp guard. The option existed. She didn't hesitate. She just went. September 5, 1944. 21-year-old Elisabeth Becker arrived at Stutthof concentration camp, 35 kilometers east of Danzig. Within weeks, a uniform, a dog whip, and authority over human lives. Approximately 110,000 individuals passed through Stutthof during its operation. An estimated 65,000 did not survive. The camp had functioning gas chambers. Crematoria. The smell was constant. Everyone who worked there understood exactly what they were part of. You didn't need to ask what the smoke meant. Elisabeth was assigned to SK3, the women's section. Her duties included roll calls, barrack supervision, and selections. In camp language, a selection identified prisoners deemed unfit for labor. In practice, it was a death sentence. She later claimed she hadn't understood what happened to selected prisoners. Under sustained questioning, facing witness after witness, she retracted that. She had known from the beginning. Survivor testimony described Becker moving through roll call lines with a whip, deliberate and focused. When prisoners, weakened by starvation, couldn't hold their posture, she acted. She'd stop in front of a woman. Look her over. Point. Step out. And every person in that line knew what the pointing meant. One witness testified she struck a child, estimated at approximately 10 years old, with enough force to break the skin. Multiple survivors used the same word to describe her conduct, eager. She didn't wait to be assigned selections. She volunteered for them. That word matters. There's a distinction between someone who complies because the system makes refusal feel impossible, and someone who finds something in the power. Survivor accounts placed Becker in the second category. During 4 months at Stutthof, Elisabeth Becker personally selected a documented minimum of 30 women and children. From her own confession. That figure almost certainly undercounts the actual total. Most camp records were destroyed. Most victims were never individually documented. They were numbers. Then they were smoke. 30 that we can prove. How many others, we'll never know. January 15, 1945. Soviet forces were advancing on Danzig. The SS began evacuating Stutthof. Elisabeth removed her uniform, changed into civilian clothes, and went home to Nitka. She was 21. She'd been at Stutthof exactly 4 months. Now she was counting on the chaos of a collapsing war to swallow what she'd done. For 3 months, she waited. Then Germany surrendered. Then Polish authorities came knocking. April 13, 1945, nearly a month before the surrender, Polish police arrested her in Gdańsk. Someone had identified her. The record doesn't specify who. It only records that she was found. According to custody accounts, she attempted to cultivate goodwill with her Polish guards. Charm, youth, the performance of innocence. It produced nothing. April 25, 1946. The first Stutthof trial commenced. 13 defendants. Among them, Commandant Johann Pauls, 5 female SS guards including Jenny Wanda Bachmann, Elisabeth Becker, Wanda Klaff, Ewa Paradise, and Gerda Steinhoff, and 5 male capos. One of the earliest formal war crimes proceedings in post-war Europe, running concurrently with Nuremberg. Prosecutors presented evidence, records, photographs, documentation of the killing operations. Then they called survivors. One by one, former prisoners identified the defendants by sight and described what they had witnessed. Becker initially denied everything. She had never selected anyone. She had not known the outcome. She was following directives. The standard defense. And it collapsed the same way it had collapsed at Nuremberg. Prosecutors established that no female guard had ever been condemned for refusing participation. Guards who objected were reassigned, not condemned. The superior orders argument was no longer a legal shield. Elisabeth Becker had a choice. The record showed she made one. Confronted with witness after witness, her account changed. She admitted the selections. She admitted knowing. She admitted 30, at minimum. May 31, 1946. All 13 defendants were found guilty. 11 received death sentences. When the sentence was read, observers noted that something finally shifted in the female defendants, as if the proceeding had only now become real. Becker began writing letters immediately. To Polish President Bolesław Bierut. She argued her crimes were less severe than Steinhoff's, that she'd served the shortest time, that she'd been young and following orders. And in a development that surprises most people, the court itself recommended commutation. The judges suggested 15 years imprisonment. They acknowledged genuine distinctions between defendants. President Bierut reviewed the case, read the letters, considered the recommendation, and declined to intervene. Elisabeth Becker had admitted to selecting a minimum of 30 individuals for death. She had subjected children to physical harm. For months was sufficient. Youth was not exculpatory. The sentence would stand. The mercy she was asking for, she'd never offered it to anyone in those barracks. July 4, 1946. Biskupia Gorka. The short drop method, not the long drop technique that severs the spinal cord. The short drop is slower, more uncertain. The crowd gathered by the thousands. Survivors. Polish civilians. Press photographers documenting the proceedings for international distribution. The condemned arrived at 5 p.m., hands bound, faces uncovered. The 5 female guards were positioned along the gallows row. Bachmann at one end, composed, almost defiant. Then Paradise. Then Elisabeth Becker. Then Klaff. Then Steinhoff. No blindfolds. They could see everything. The crowd. Each other. What was coming? The signal was given. The trucks moved forward. 11 individuals dropped simultaneously. Photographic evidence indicates considerable variation in outcome. Some lost consciousness rapidly, others did not. The record suggests Becker's neck broke on the initial drop. By the standards of what the short drop produces, it was brief. Brief. 2 years earlier she'd been growing crops outside Danzig. Now she was 22 years old at the end of a rope on a Polish hillside. The bodies were brought down and transferred to the medical university in Gdańsk, used in anatomical instruction, then disposed of as medical waste. No burial. No marker. no grave. Elisabeth Becker wasn't exceptional. That's the point. She was ordinary until she wasn't. A teenager who absorbed an ideology, a young woman who accepted an assignment, and then, when given authority over other people's lives, someone who used that authority in the ways the survivors described. Hannah Arendt called it the banality of evil. The idea that atrocity isn't sustained by committed monsters alone, but by ordinary people who make choices, follow structures, and tell themselves they're just doing their jobs. Becker fits that framework. Until the testimony about eagerness, about volunteering, about going beyond what was required. She didn't just do the job. She found something in it. Approximately 3,700 women served in the Nazi camp system. Most were never identified. Most went home after 1945, resumed civilian lives, grew old. Elisabeth Becker was caught. That's the factual difference between her and the majority of her counterparts. The 30 individuals she selected didn't grow old. They didn't write letters or file appeals. They had a woman in a uniform point at them one morning, and that was the last ordinary thing that happened to them. That's the record. Brutal and incomplete. And the names will never recover, because the records were burned, are exactly why these stories need to be told. What accounts should we still be uncovering? Whose names deserve to be remembered? Let us know in the comments. Subscribe, because the history that was designed to disappear is exactly the history that most needs to survive.